Last night we were helping someone through building an agent, and we had a good discussion around when to let the agent decide what to do using tools, and when you should use a more agentic workflow approach where you're using essentially a graph to describe when certain decisions should be made. And I've seen kind of a common pattern emerge talking to a bunch of different companies that are building agents. And the traditional pattern is they want the agent to be able to do everything just with a system prompt and a set of tools. As you add more complexity, that often starts to break down. What you end up having to do is essentially move more of your logic out of the hands of the agent making the decisions and into a workflow-based approach. So it's more deterministic. Because if you think about it, even if you're a human, if you have a very challenging task, it's much better to break those things down into workflows. If you think of you're a customer support person, you typically, when you start a job, you have a set of step-by-step instructions you follow. It's kind of like a workflow. It's very deterministic. When this happens, you do this. And maybe in your workflow, there are some parts that you need to use an LLM to make decisions. So the LLM is essentially a router in your workflow, but it still allows the more deterministic parts to be specified where you know for sure what's going to happen. So I've seen this pattern emerge quite frequently where you start and you prototype everything as agents with tool calls. And then as you figure out and iterate on the parts of your system that are the weakest and have the worst quality, you will pull those pieces out and move them into more deterministic workflows. And I think that's a good pattern to really use if you're building an agent. Start with just a big system prompt, a lot of tools, and then let your agent go. Eventually you might move into a agent as more of a supervisor with a bunch of other agents as tool calls. And then even as you get more sophisticated and you need things to be more reliable, higher level of quality, you move more of those pieces into defined workflow graphs.